Okay, peep, let's finish this. I'm doing at least 1,000 questions today. So let's reset our timer. I just took a break upstairs. I need water, so I might stop the video when I need some water. So let's continue going. I have my sheet metal up right now. Let's stop doing all the hard ones. Sometimes you have to give your little brain a break. Because you got to remember, the brain is a muscle. And I've been knocking shit out every day for the last 2 months, I think. No, I mean like 3 weeks. Hardcore. And I'm having stress from all over. Family, all that crap. So I've been taking it easy. That's why I stretched this test out. I have 2 more months left in the school. Hopefully I pass this last final. I have 2 more months left. I have 4 more tests left. Huge tests. Maybe like 6 or 7. So I'm hoping I have plenty of time to study, plenty of time to focus. And hopefully to God we get a job after this. Hopefully. I'm trying to stay alive, trying to stay well. I'm trying to stay up with what I have to stay up with, cleaning all that stuff. It's a lot of stuff that goes into school. So let's go. And this, I think this was my plan A, right? Aviation. Which of the following need not be considered when determining minimum rivet spacing, rivet length? Which is an identifying characteristic of acrylic plastic? Acetone will soften the plastic, but will change its color. Let's go with that one. No, that's not the answer. See, that was a trick one right there. Which is an identifying characteristic of acrylic plastic? Zinc chloride will have no effect. A quick and easy way to distinguish between cellulose acetone plastic and acrylic plastic is to put a drop of zinc chloride on them. Zinc chloride has no effect in acrylic plastic, but it causes cellulose acetate plastic to turn milky. So which is an identifying characteristic of acrylic plastic? Zinc chloride will have no effect. Excuse me. A single lap sheet splice is to be used to repair a section of damaged aluminum skin. If the double row of 1/8-inch rivet is used, the minimum allowable overlap will be 13/16. Threaded rivets are commonly used to threaded rivet. Is it to attach parts or component? Threaded rivet. Attach parts or components with screws to sheet metal. Yes. Threaded rivets are used to attach parts or component with screws to sheet metal. The coefficient of expansion of most plastic enclosure materials are the coefficient expansion of most plastic enclosure materials is yes, it's greater than both steel and aluminum. Because it's plastic, it can stretch. It's expansion, you know. What is the dimension of the setback equal 0.252? Is it that's a number question. I'm trying to do those on video so they can see how to do it. I don't know how to do them myself. I'd have to watch a video on that. Select an alternative which best describes the function of the flute section of the twist drill. Select an alternative which best describe it. So the flute section of the twist drill, let me see if I know it from a cutting edge of the drill. Is it C? So one of the function of the flute cut into the shank of a twist drill is to form the cutting edge of the drill point. So select the alternative which best describes the function of the flute section of the twist drill. It forms a cutting edge of the drill point. Let's go to our next BS over here. Computer. Which statement is correct? When an aircraft has not been approved to return to service after an annual inspection because of several items requiring minor repair. Let's say that one again. Are you ready? Which statement is correct? When an aircraft has not been approved for return to service after an annual inspection because of several items requiring minor repair. An appropriately rated mechanic may repair the defects and approve the aircraft for a return to service. So think about if it's 100-hour inspection, you can have minor repairs. If it's an annual inspection with major repairs, I think an IA have to, but we'll figure that out later. The voltage in an AC transformer secondary that contains twice as many loops as the primary will have what? Less amperage, greater than in the primary. That's incorrect. The voltage in an AC transformer secondary that contains twice as many loops as the primary will have a greater amperage, less than in the primary, greater and the amperage less than in the primary. Oh. So the voltage would be greater, but the amperage would be less than in the primary. Let's figure out why. Let's mark this one. Show the explanation. A transformer that contains twice as many turned loops in the secondary winding as there are turned in the primary winding will have a secondary voltage that is twice the voltage in the primary. The current in the secondary will be only one half the current in the primary. The current in the secondary will be only one half the current in the primary. So that's 0.5 the current in the primary. The voltage in the AC transformer secondary that contains twice as many loops as the primary will be greater and the amperage less than in the primary. How do the isoboats help remove ice accumulation? By breaking up ice formation. The resurfaced soldering iron cannot be used effectively until after the working phase has been thinned. Which of the following allows fluid to flow unimpeded in one direction but the orifice check valve, but prevents fluid flow in the other? That's the check valve. That's the check valve. Which of the following allows fluid to flow unimpeded in one direction but prevent the fluid flow in the other? Check valve. A hydraulic system operational check during ground run-up of an aircraft indicates The wing flaps cannot be lowered using main hydraulic system, but can be lowered by using the emergency hand pump, which is most likely cause the flap selector valve have a severe internal leakage, the fluid level in the reservoir is low. Let's see what so yes, if you have to use the hand pump, that means the fluid level in the reservoir is low. If the level of fluid in the reservoir is below outlet that feeds the engine driven pump, portion of the system can be actuated by emergency hand pump, but not by the engine driven pump. The fluid level in the reservoir is low. What is the maximum amount of time a circuit can be in operation and still be in terminate duty? 2 minutes. What is the maximum amount of time a circuit can be operational and still be in intermittent duty circuit? 2 minutes. The amount of material required to make a 90-degree bend. Oh, this is also another math question. Let's see the explanation. 0.3436 inch. Now we have to figure out, I know how to do it, but I can't do it on the computer. Next. The aluminum alloys used in aircraft construction are usually hardened by which method? The aluminum alloys used in aircraft construction are usually hardened by which method? Aluminum alloys used in aircraft construction are usually hardened by which method? Aluminum alloys hardened by which method? I think it's heat treatment. Aluminum alloys using, let's read that again. The aluminum alloys used in aircraft construction are usually hardened by which method? Heat treatment. Which is considered good practice concerning the installation of acrylic plastic? I know this one. When rivets are used, adequate spacers are not satisfactory means to prevent excessive tightening. That's not it. When nuts and bolts are used, the plastic should be installed hot and tightened to a firm fit before that's not it. When rivets or nuts and bolts are used, slotted holes are not recommended. When rivets are used, adequate spacers and other satisfactory means to prevent excessive tightening to the frame to the plastic should be provided. That's the answer. When rivets are used, adequate spacers or other satisfactory means to prevent excessive tightening of the frame to the plastic should be provided. Metal fasteners used with carbon graphite composite structures. Let's see. What is metal fasteners used with carbon or graphite composite structures? Let's see. So I'm going to say B. Metal fasteners used with carbon graphite composite structures must be constructed of material such as titanium or corrosion resistant steel. Metal used with carbon graphite composite structures must be constructed of materials such as titanium or corrosion resistant steel. Now, it's time to go in. Know what that means, people? Get ready to learn. What is indicated by black smoky residue streaming back from the rivets on the aircraft? And we are in sheet metal. The black smoky residue is a fretting corrosion is occurring between the rivets and the skin. When riveting dissimilar metals together, what precaution must be taken to prevent electrolytic action? Place a protective separator between areas of potential electrical differences. Rivet gauge or transverse pitch is a distance between the center of rivets in adjacent rows. Rivet gauge or transverse pitch is the distance between center of rivets in adjacent rows. What is the minimum spacing for a single row of aircraft rivets? What is the minimum spacing of single row of aircraft rivets? 3 times the diameter of the rivet shank. What is the minimum spacing for single rows of aircraft rivets? 3 times the diameter of rivet shank. What is the maximum length of flat A? What is the maximum length of flat A? The maximum length of flat A is 3.7 inches. Oh, I gotta do that one on camera for you. A well-designed rivet joint will subject the rivet to what? A well-designed rivet joint will subject the rivets to what? Shear loads. A well-designed rivet joint will subject the rivet to shear loads. A well-designed rivet joint will subject the rivet to shear loads. Alloy 2117 rivets are heat treated by manufacturer and do not require heat treatment before being driven. Alloy 2117 rivets are heat treated by the manufacturer and do not require heat treatment before being driven. Which of the rivets shown will accurately fit the colonical depression? Colonical depression. Let's see some of this shit. Let's look at the figure here. I think it's 130 degrees. Which of the rivets shown will accurately fit the colonical depression made by a 100-degree countersink? Let's go. When a piece of aluminum alloy is to be bent using minimum radius for the type of thickness of material, the layout should be made so that the bend will be 90 degrees to the grain of the sheet metal. When a piece of aluminum alloy is to be bent using minimum radius for the type of thickness of material, the layout should be made so that the bend will be 90 degrees to the grain of the sheet. I don't know what they're talking about. So let's look at the explanation. For the greatest strength in a bent piece material, the layout should always be made so that the bend is perpendicular to the grain of the sheet metal. When making repairs to fiberglass, cleaning the area to be repaired is essential for a good bond. The final cleaning should be made using when making repairs to fiberglass. What is fiberglass? Cleaning the area to be repaired is essential for a good bond. Final cleaning should be made using MEK, ethylene ketone. When it comes to fiberglass, use MEK, baby. One of the best ways to assure that a properly prepared batch of matrix resin has been achieved is to mix more. Mix enough for a test sample. One method of inspecting a laminated fiberglass structure that has been subjected to damage is to strip the damaged area of all the paint and shine a strong light through the structure. One method of inspecting a laminated fiberglass structure that has been subjected to damage is to strip the damaged area of all paint and shine a strong light through the structure. A piece of flat stock that has to be bent to a close angle of 15 degrees must be bent to an angle of 165. So I got 65. Boom. Piece of flat stock that has to be bent to a close angle of 15 degrees. A closed angle of 15 must be bent to an angle of 165 degrees. Sometimes you just know what you're gonna know. Sometimes you just know. But if I see this question again, I'm gonna get it. Cabin upholstery material installed in current standard category airplane must be flame resistant. Cabin upholstery material installed in material standard category airplane must be at least flame resistant. A DD rivet, 2Ds, double Ds. A DD rivet is heat treated before use. Why? Soften to facilitate riveting. A DD rivet is heat treated before use. Or a DDR 2024T rivet. A DDR 2024T rivet. It's 2023 now. Rivet is heat treated before they are driven to soften them so they will not split when they are driven. If a streamlined cover plate is to be hand formed using a form block, a piece of dead soft aluminum should first be placed over the hollow portion of the mold and securely fastened in place. The bumping operation should be. Let's read that question again. But that's a big question, and the ones that are big, I'm gonna read them at least twice. If a streamlined cover plate is to be hand formed using a form block, a piece of dead soft aluminum should first be placed over the hollow portion of the mold and securely fastened in place. The bumping operation should be started by tapping the aluminum lightly around the edges and gradually working down into the center. Gradually working down into the center. Sometimes you look at these questions and it's like Never saw them before, you know what I'm saying? The monocoque fuselage relies largely on the strength of the monocoque fuselage relies largely on the strength of the skin or covering. Wow. The strength and stiffness of a properly constructed composite depends primarily on the orientation of plies to the load direction. It's a trick question, and the answers they try to trick you. I don't know why they do that crap. I guess they want you to know. They don't want you to guess. No. They want you to make sure you know what they're trying to ask you. I don't know why. I think you have to be detail oriented in this field. That's why I know it's not about the money. It's about integrity. Go look that word up, integrity. That's one thing this course teach me is about integrity. If it's about the money, I don't think you're gonna make it. But if that's what you have to start off, if that's how you have to get up every morning and go get this thing, I'm sure one day you're gonna see, hey, this was a lot of hard work. And it's really not about the money. Because for me, it's not about the money. And I'm glad I came to that realization. Because in the beginning, I didn't even know what I was signing up for. But I'm glad I signed up. The strength and stiffness of a properly constructed composite buildup depends primarily, and all of this is 2023, it's all updated, people. The strength and stiffness of a properly constructed composite buildup depends primarily on the orientation of the plies to the load direction. The Zeus turn-lock fastener consists of a stud, a grommet, and a receptacle. The stud length is measured in 100 of an inch. Now, every time I see that word Zeus, something ain't right. So we're going to mark that one. What should be included angle of a twist drill for hard metal? 118 degrees. Yes. I'm going to mark that one too. Everything I think I might want to know right the day before, I'm going to focus on these the day before the exam. The identifying marks on the head of the aluminum alloy rivets indicate the identifying marks on the head of the aluminum identifying marks on the heads of the aluminum alloy rivets indicate what? Specific alloys used in the manufacture of the rivet. The identifying marks on the head of the aluminum alloy rivet indicate specific alloys used in manufacture of the rivets. When inspecting a composite panel using ring test tapping method, a dull thud may indicate separation of the laminates. Which of the following are generally characteristic of carbon graphite fiber composites? Stiffness, high compressive strength, and corrosive effect in contact with aluminum. Which of the following are generally characteristics of carbon or graphite fiber composite? Stiffness, high compressive strength, and corrosive effect in contact with aluminum. I ain't gonna lie, people. Lately, I've been seeing myself flourish in this field. Like, I've been getting stuff together. Hopefully, I stay on this track for a long time because it really helped me. MS204 26AD 6-5 indicate a countersinking rivet, which has MS204 26AD 6-5 indicates a countersinking rivet which has an overall length of 5/16 inch. MS204 26AD 65 indicates a sun countersink rivet has an overall length of 5/16 inch. You might have to see that one to, which part of the semi-monocoque fuselage prevent tension and compression from bending the fuselage? Longerons and stringers. And let's mark that so we can come back to it. 46 more to go. The purpose of joggles is to allow clearance for the sheet or an extrusion. The purpose of joggles are to allow clearance for a sheet or an extrusion. I'm going to mark that one. When bending metal, the material on the outside of the curve stretches while the material on the inside of the curve compresses. What part of the material which is not affected by either stress? That part of material which is not affected by either stress is the neutral line. So the part of the material which is not affected by the stress is the neutral line. When bending a metal, the material on the outside of the curve stretches while the material on the inside of the curve compresses. That part of the material which is not affected by either stretch is called the neutral line. Are you ready, guys? If no scratches are visible after transparent plastic enclosure, material has been cleaned. The surface should be covered with a thin coat of wax. If no scratches is visible after a transparent plastic enclosure, if no scratches is visible after a plastic enclosure, material has been cleaned. The surface should be covered with a thin coat of wax. What precaution, if any, should be taken to prevent corrosion inside a repair metal honeycomb structure? What precaution, if any, should be taken to prevent corrosion in a repaired metal honeycomb structure? Prime the repair with corrosion inhibitor and seal from the atmosphere. What precaution, if any, should be taken to prevent corrosion inside a repair metal honeycomb? Prime the repair with corrosion inhibitor and seal from the atmosphere. Prime the repair with corrosion inhibitor and seal from the atmosphere. Which of these methods may be used to inspect fiberglass honeycomb structure for entrapped water? To find entrapped water, you should use X-ray and backlighting. The factor which determines the minimum space between rivets is the factor which determines the minimum space between rivets is the diameter of the rivets being used. The preferred way to make permanent repairs on a composite is by laminating on new repair plies. Laminating on new repair plies is the preferred way to make permanent repair on composites. Rivet pitch is the distance between center of adjacent rivet in the same row. Centers of adjacent rivet in the same row is the distance between rivet pitch. Rivet pitch is the distance between the centers of adjacent rivet in the same row. Remember, CA, center of adjacent rivets in same row. Center of adjacent rivets in same row. Center of adjacent rivet in same row. What is the minimum edge distance for aircraft rivets? What is the minimum edge distance of aircraft rivets? The minimum edge distance of aircraft rivets is 2 times the diameter of the rivet shank. The minimum edge distance of aircraft rivets, 2 times the diameter of the rivet shank. The minimum edge distance, 2 times the diameter of the rivet shank. Gotta mark that one. That's a tricky one. Hole filing fasteners, for example, MS-20470 rivets should not be used in composite structure, primarily because of. We need some water. Who can guess what I'm drinking right now? Is gonna get $500 in their Cash App. If you can guess what I'm drinking, you'll get $500 in your Cash App. Hole filing fasteners, for example. The MS-20470 rivet should not be used in composite structures, primarily because what? The possibility of causing delamination. Hole filing fasteners, for example, MS2047D rivets. Mm-mm. MS2047 rivets. That's a hole filing fastener. Hope they don't give me that crap on the test. Should not be used in composite structure primarily because of the possibility of causing delamination. Let's read this. Hole filing fasteners such as conventional rivets should not be used in the composite structure because possibility of causing delamination. When the conventional rivet is driven, its shank expands to completely fill the hole. The force applied by the expanded shank will cause the material to delaminate around the edges of the hole. So hole filing fasteners should not be used in composite structures, but primarily because possibility of causing delamination. A sheet metal repair is to be made using two pieces of 0.040-inch aluminum rivets together. All rivets sold are drilled for 3 32-inch rivets. The length of the rivet should be used will be 1/4 inches. 0.040-inch aluminum rivets together. 1/4 inches. Gotta come back to this one. A part of a replacement honeycomb core that must line up with the adjacent original is the ribbon direction. A part of a replacement honeycomb core that must line up with the adjacent original is the ribbon direction. A part of a replacement honeycomb core that must line up with the adjacent original is the ribbon direction. Excuse me. Which part of the 2017 T36 aluminum alloy designation indicates the primary alloying agent used in its manufacture? Which part of the 2017 T36 aluminum designation indicates primary alloying agent used in its manufacture? The primary is represented by the 2. The installation of the Cherry Mac Olympic lock rivets is accomplished by utilizing the pulling tool. The installation of the Cherry Mac or Olympic lock rivets is accomplished by using the pulling tool. Which procedure is correct when using a reamer to finish a drill hole to correct size? B. Turn the reamer only in the cutting direction. Which procedure is correct when using a reamer to finish a drill hole to the correct size? Turn the reamer only in the cutting direction. Which statement is true regarding an inspection of a stress skin metal wing assembly known to have been critically loaded? Which statement is true regarding inspection of the stress skin metal wing assembly known to have been critically loaded? If the genuine rivet tipping has occurred, groups of consecutive rivet head will be tipped in the same direction. Let me mark that one. What is the flat layout dimension? Oh my god, they have so much goddamn. I don't know this one. pay attention to these. Because you have like 7 figures on these ones. What is the flat layout dimension? Oh yeah. 6.8 inches. A length of a rivet to be used to join a sheet of 0.032 inch and 0.064 inch aluminum alloy should be equal to 1.5 times the rivet diameter plus 0.96 inch. The length of a rivet to use to join a sheet of 0.032 inch and 0.064 inch aluminum alloy should be equal to 1.5 times the rivet diameter. 1.5. 1.5 the rivet diameter plus 0.096 inch. 1.5 times the rivet diameter plus 0.096 inch. If a new safety belt is to be installed in an aircraft, the belt must conform to the strength requirement in which document. The TSO time certificate or C22. Safety belt approved for installation in the aircraft may be identified by marking TSO C22 on the belt or by the military designation number for the belt. Military belts are approved for installation because their requirements meet or exceed those of the TSO C22. Easy. Smart. Listen, move on. When necessary, what type of cutting fluid is usually acceptable for machining composite laminates? Water only. When necessary, what type of cutting fluid is usually acceptable for machining composite laminates? Water only. Cutting fluid. When repairing puncture type damage to a metal face laminated honeycomb, the edges of the doubler should be tempered to 100 times the thickness of the metal. When repairing puncture type damage to a metal face laminate honeycomb panel, the edge of the doubler should be tempered to 100 times the thickness of the metal. When repairing large flat surface with polyester, resin warping of the surface is likely to occur. One method of reducing the amount of warpage is to use short strip of fiberglass in the bonded repair. One method of reducing the amount of warpage is to use short strip of fiberglass in the bonded repair. A potted compound repair on honeycomb can usually be made by damages less than. A potted compound repair on honeycomb can usually be made on damages less than 1 inch in diameter. When straightening members made of 2024 T4, you should straighten cold and reinforce. When straightening members made of 2024 T4, you should straighten cold and reinforce. Straighten cold. When straightening members made of 2024 T4, you should straighten cold and reinforce. Which rivet is used for riveting nickel steel alloys? Marnell. Which rivet is used for riveting nickel steel alloys? Marnell. Now let's wrap this video up. Come back to it later. We got 23 left. We did 119. Mark. Let's wrap this one up, please. Thank you. A lot to go, but we're gonna take a break and come back to it